Hey everybody, welcome to Noodles Garage. Today we're going to be doing ball joints on my 2012 Ram 2500. We're also going to be doing tie rod ends, but a majority of this video is just going to concentrate on the ball joints themselves. Alrighty, let's get right to it. So first thing we're going to have to do, jack up the truck, and we got to get some jack stand. Hold on a second. Stands, alright, much better. Alright, get this thing jacked up, get some jack stands underneath it, and we'll get started. Alright, vehicle's up, vehicle's sturdy. Let's start. So obviously I don't have stock wheels, so I'm just going to remove the cap with 5mm Allen and a little impact. And I always get people asking like, oh, all these little individual nuts are the ones that actually hold it on? No, they're not technically. Technically there's only two there. So I'm going to turn my fan off so you can hear this very clearly. I'm going to take my socket and just plastic, metal. And then that one and the one directly across from it should be metal as well. On some method wheels, you will have three of them. So you'll have a metal one here, and then completely on like a Y, you'll have two that are metal. But 99% of the time, this is going to be the setup. Just two, takes the cap right off. I hope I caught all that on camera. Anyway, spline drive sockets, or spline drive nuts, and a spline drive socket. Fit on there. 21 in an impact, no problem. We're going to take all of our lug nuts, set them to the side. And now using our legs and not our back, which I'm going to use my back anyway. Nah, you didn't hear anything. Tire off, and we're going to roll this to the back of the vehicle. And now we're going to start with some of the nitty gritty. So the first thing that's going to come off is the caliper. If you're doing brakes, this is a great time to do brakes. As you can see, I already did calipers, pads, rotors, wheel bearings before. Just recently, within the past week, I noticed the ball joint had play and the truck was going into a death wobble quite a bit. Which, if I get a very detailed look at the front end here, you'll see kind of why. I'm also missing a stabilizer because it kind of destroyed the bracket it was in. And I think this other one finally went. Now that we're here, we're just going to start taking everything off. First thing, two big bolts. I'm not going to disassemble the entire caliper because I did this like 2 months ago, so I'm not going to re-grease anything. I'm just going to take the caliper off. I'm going to hang it up out of the way. I have these cute little hooks that I made for it. I'll show you them in a minute. That's a 224mm bolts on the back side, and we're going to get right to it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the wheel all the way to the passenger side since we're starting with the driver's side. And that'll give us better access to the rear bolts. So, now we can get to these back bolts way easier. Now, if you were just going to do the tie rods as well, you can knock the tie rods out now, but it's going to give you a hard time with that knuckle. That knuckle's going to want to swing back and forth on you when you're trying to loosen them. So I always find this the easiest, get everything nice and broke free. Then you can undo the tie rod and get to everything nice and easy. Now I will have to say, these bolts were a lot harder to get out the first time. Whoever Loctited them at Dodge or Chrysler, whatever you want to say, they really, really Loctited them. So you could obviously use like a really big breaker bar or whatnot, or get yourself a swivel attachment and you can get right in there, no problem. Put it to a impact gun, get it right in behind there. I just want to crack them free right now. That's all I want to do. I just brought that over here as an example. So we also have trusty screwdriver. This is the prying utensil. It's not supposed to be, but it helps me compress the calipers just a smidge, loosen them up a little bit. Now everything's nice and loose and it's easier to take all the hardware out by hand. And let me tell you, using hand tools most of my life, best trick I ever learned was just compress the caliper a little bit. Makes it so much easier to put on and off. Especially if you're doing like a wheel bearing, you're not reusing, or you're gonna reuse the brakes, and you can just take all the brakes off and doodly-doo your stuff, put your wheel bearing back on, and then bam, brakes slide right on, no fuss, no hassle. For the point of speed, I am now going to zip these out of here. Now do note, I was holding the bottom of that caliper because that's why it will slide right out of there. I forgot my little trusty holdy down tool, so now I gotta stick Mr. Trusty Screwdriver in place. Keep that from sliding, and let me go get my hanger. Alright, got our hanger. We're gonna hang that up over here out of the way, and then hang the caliper right off of that. Rotor comes off. If the rotor doesn't come off, give it a couple smacks in between the lugs. If you're nervous about damaging the studs, just put the lug nuts back on. It's way less of a hassle if you screw up a lug nut than a lug stud. While we're also here, we're going to crack these wheel bearing nuts on this side free. Turn the wheel the other way, same thing, and then we're going to knock the tie rod end off. But before I do that, I'm going to do the other side off camera. So, let's go get these nuts together. So, let's go get these sockets together so we can get the wheel bearing bolts cracked free. After hunting for my water as well, come to find out that is an 18. Same thing, breaker bar, we're just going to crack it free for now. Hopefully I don't need an extension, I do not. And let me tell you, anti-seize, your favorite friend when it comes to doing wheel bearings. And a nice big bar, especially when you're a tiny little noodle like me. So, that side's free. I'm going to turn the wheel from the other side just by pushing the tire. I do have to say that steering stabilizer is definitely shot. It pulled to the passenger side so much easier than going to the driver. Thank God I'm replacing that. Thank God I'm replacing that. We're going to crack these other two free. We'll get this cotter pin out of here, and we'll start ripping and tearing again. Probably with using the extension on the side. It's empty on the bottom. Both rings didn't work. Well, just checking now. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, it's not going to get section of buttons. Sorry, so we can this. Go back around here. Straighten out a bit. And there we go. And without that, didn't break it. So, if my new tie rods don't come with one, I have a reusable. If not, that'll go in the wheeling bag, and I'll have backups for when I'm off-roading. The 21 at B. Now I don't take, oh Jesus, you guys can't see what I'm doing over here. Alright, come on over here. Alright, so you can see what I'm doing now. So, leave it just on there, like a couple threads. And then what we're going to do is we're going to smack it right here with a hammer. Even though I'm not reusing them, this is the way I always take tie rod ends off. It just jars everything loose, gets everything free, falls right out. And in typical noodle fashion, I got the biggest hammer I possibly can get. Oh, Jesus Christ, I smacked you guys. I should probably move you back a little. I'm trying to make a really wide swing here. Oh, wait a minute, it freed up already. Oh, goddamn. Well, anyway, it freed up now. Now, if that wouldn't have worked, and you can use a pickle fork and stuff it in there and possibly ruin your boot, yada yada. You can also take your castle nut, flip it around so your little teeth are pointing downward, just flush with the stud, and then you can knock it out that way. I'm going to keep my hardware on here because you never know when spare hardware is nice. And if I know what it goes to, it's even better. So now with our wheel bearing all nice and free moving, we can get right to it. I do also want to let you guys know, I'm sorry, I'm out of breath right now. I have a bad U-joint as well. So it's not like completely toasted like I've had some in the past, but so refreshing. But I mean, I'm doing all this work anyway, might as well do it. I'm doing it to both sides. This side's the problem child. The other side has a tiny, tiny, tiny minor amount of play, but it's just gonna get worse. You can't grease them. What are you gonna do? Oh, I know what you do. You replace them with something that can be greased, or hopefully can be greased. Sometimes you can't get U-joints that are greasable. So, we just replace it while we're here. Why not? Instead of doing this all over again, we're doing all this same work over again, but minus the tie rod end. Just do it while you're here. I mean, always be proactive. If you can address it while you're there, do it. It's not like it's gonna hurt anything. Alright, let's zip the rest of these out and continue on our merry way. Anti-seize does wonders. Yes, this is going to get a small fresh coat when I put it back in. When I put these in months ago, oh, I layered them up. Because if any of you ever worked with any truck before, you would know wheel bearings get rusted in place. Even on like, not even trucks, Jeeps, Hondas, Subarus, any car that has anything that just has a one-piece wheel bearing where you just replace the whole unit in one, just like that. You basically just gotta layer them in anti-seize, some sort of lubricant so they come off, prevent rust behind there. You can probably see some of the evidence. I was in here before, hopefully. I don't know. Get some light up there. You can see some of the evidence in here from when I was in here last. Yep, that white stuff. That's anti-seize. Being very heavy with all that. Jesus, can't hang a light anywhere in here. Jeez. Being really heavy with that from the start really helps out. So now we're gonna get the center nut off. Same thing, cotter pin. I'm pretty sure this was a 36 mil, but I don't have that. I gotta remember what the metric one is. So start off with, get this cotter pin, bend it over, couple taps, and pull it out. That's gonna be reused. Now let's go find that socket. 1 3/4 is pretty loose, but I know these Dodges have a very specific size. But I know it'll come off. I've had it off already. Like I said months ago, yada yada, you heard that whole story. So, that sounded terrible, but it came off. That washer looks a little chewed up. Wonder what happened there. So, we got all our ABS wire disconnected, maybe? No, we don't. Jesus, get you guys adjusted here. So up behind the shield here, you're gonna have an ABS kind of hooked in. You're gonna whip out the old pocket knife, pop that out. If I can remember which way it went. That way. Pop that. It comes right out. And all we're gonna do is give this a couple love taps. Now, the best method to get these out, get you down here a little, is to air hammer these here and then back the other way. Best way to get them out. What it'll do, it rotates the whole wheel bearing in there, knocks all that rust free, and then eventually it'll start working itself out. There's also another way with these Dodges where you can put a bolt through the back into the wheel bearing hole itself, and then it just kind of pushes off the inner half of your knuckle here. Well, not the knuckle, but you get what I mean. It'll just push off of that and kind of just push the wheel bearing out. You do that while the truck's running. It's basically a two-man job. I'm not a two-man job here. Mostly because there's nobody awake at 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm here by myself. Now I'm just gonna pray this comes off. There she be. Now, it's probably not the healthiest for the wheel bearing. Hey, but it's out. Take our axle shaft, give it a tug, out it comes. Rag, I forgot a rag. So winner chicken dinner. We have an 1 3/16 for the bottom and a 24 mil for the top. All right, let's set these up to the big breaker bar, ratcheting breaker bar, and get these things loose. Alright, so with the knuckle straight, and without trying to get too much grease on myself, knuckle will kind of go over to where it wants to. I'm going right through where the wheel bearing was. That has the most outside, holy shit. Okay, this would be the part where you call your plus size friend that actually has some weight to him to hold you down so you don't slide. I have a trick up my sleeve. 1 second. You get the really big bar. Size comparison. Yeah. If my ratcheting one doesn't do it, this one usually does. If this doesn't work, I still have a trick up my sleeve, but it's something you guys probably won't have access to. But I'm gonna use it if I need to. which was quite tight. I'm hoping we can get the ratcheting breaker bar on there now. Look at that. You just see how long this is. Don't have to worry about it. I guess I put all my weight right now. Oh, it's hot. Very hot. Ooh. So we put that back on there, a couple threads, and then what we're going to do is get the bottom one off, and then we'll move on to the next step. Whoa! Oh, that one moved a lot better. And we get that nut completely off of there. No washers. Alright, now the next step, and I gotta make some room to get you guys in here. Alright, so we're gonna have two major spots for you guys to hit. Right here, on both sides, there, flip it around, there, underneath. Same basic concept. Basically, this guy here. Right before the nut. Big hammer once again. Underneath. Yep, the bottom one's the only one stuck right now, so I'm really gonna have to get in there and whip it. I just hope I'm not gonna be in your line of view here for the bottom one. There it goes. And just like that, we're almost done. Taking apart. Hold up a knuckle a little bit. This is why we left that nut on top there. That's gonna keep the knuckle from falling on us, or falling in, hurting itself, or breaking it, yada yada. And now we're ready to actually get the ball joints out. Bitch. Okay. Okay, now that we got the knuckle off, what we're going to do is we're going to take both the grease fittings out, as I already did. One here, one here. The lower ball joint on the rams has a C-clip. It's probably going to be rusted in there. Give it a couple taps with a screwdriver, get it free, and it'll either bend and come out, or you just get yourself some C-clip pliers, get in there, pop it off, don't let it go flying and hit in the eye. And the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to clean up where the press is going to be resting on, and then we're going to press these out. cup sits on there real nice now. Now you can use your traditional style C-clamp ball joint press that you can rent from AutoZone or anywhere like that. I have the newer Matco style. Just a giant scissor lever action. In theory, it's supposed to give you more leverage to be able to do this, but honestly, for my first time using it, and I did it on the other side already, it's honestly not that bad. I like it. Get everything in there. And the nicest part is you're not working up against the spring now. For you guys who have done ball joints before, now you're working out here, where your impact gun's gonna be. It's out here, away from everything. So, put it on there. Get her all tightened up a little. Make sure everything's in place. Man, like butter. Now I'm going to switch these around and get the lower one out. Yep. Get everything on this square, get her snug. Look at that. Butter. I'm going to do a little off camera cleaning this up. I'm going to go get the new ball joints out and prep them, and I'll show you what we're going to do next.